Carolina Panthers have selected Kristin Mccaffrey, running back.
When the Carolina Panthers took Kristin McCaffrey 8th overall in the 2017 draft, not being one who really follows college ball too closely, I've never heard of the guy, but I remember making a joke to my friend thinking, whoa, they drafted a white running back in the first round, 8th overall? I mean, that's probably something that hasn't happened since, well, I don't know how long. I mean, when was the last time we actually had a white starting running back in the NFL? The position has been dominated by black players for as long as I could remember, and definitely since the Super Bowl era. I thought if this guy is any good, he'd probably be the first white running back drafted in the first round to be a top tier running back since, I don't know, Larry Zonka? And let me be clear, when I say running back, I'm excluding fullbacks, because if we're talking about fullbacks, then we really don't need to look back that far. If we're talking recent history, I mean, you have the great Mike Alstott, who went to 6 straight Pro Bowls between 1997 and 2002 with the Bucs. You got 2-time Pro Bowler Moose Johnston, who shared the backfield with Emmitt Smith during the Cowboys' glory days of the 90s. There was even Peyton Hillis, whose 1,100-yard season in 2010 got him on the cover of Madden. He somehow proceeded to fade out of existence after that, ironically. And you got Kyle Juszczyk. He's a 5-time Pro Bowler who's been a staple in the 49ers backfield since 2017 and up to this day. But in talking about the traditional halfback, the true running back, especially with the fullback position being all but eliminated on NFL rosters, how far do we have to go back to find the last great white running back in his league? And is Kristin McCaffrey the great white hope? Come with me on this journey. So, I mean, there was Danny Woodhead. He went undrafted to the Jets in 2009. He jumped around between 5 teams and was most notable in his years in New England and San Diego. But if we're talking about great running backs, I don't know that you put Danny Woodhead up there. Most of his career, he was basically a solid backup at best. He never started more than 4 games in any of his 9 seasons. Then there was Toby Gerhart. He was drafted pretty high, 51st overall in the 2nd round in 2010 by the Vikings. And although he was pretty solid, he spent his career mainly as a backup. He amassed only 1,600 yards and 7 touchdowns with the Vikings and Jaguars in his 6 seasons. So if we're talking recent history, there was those 2, unless I missed someone. I mean, the 90s, there was a pure drought of white running backs being drafted in the NFL or even playing. You had to go back to 1992. Tommy Vardell picked 9th overall by the Cleveland Browns, played 8 seasons, only amassed 2,400 total yards, and oh, by the way, he was actually a fullback. So yeah, he doesn't even count. So was I right? Do you have to go all the way back to Larry Zonka? Drafted 8th overall in 1968 by the Miami Dolphins, 5-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro, the MVP of Super Bowl 8. Wow, 8. Super Bowl 8. You got to go that far back. Larry Zonka is currently the all-time rushing leader for the Dolphins, and he has his jersey retired in the rafters. Is Larry Zonka the last great white running back? No, he's not. I was wrong. Larry Zonka, as great and as decorated as he was indeed a fullback. And it was Mercury Morris who was the traditional halfback during the Dolphins' glory years of the 70s. So no, it's not Larry Zonka, but we do have to almost go that far back to find him. There is someone I skipped over who was an all-time running back in the 80s, and maybe I did so subconsciously because I'm a huge Eagles fan and I kind of have to hate on any of the other teams in my division, even if we're talking about ancient history. And yes, I'm talking about John Riggins. He was drafted 6th overall in 1971 by the New York Jets. Now, he was drafted as a fullback and played the fullback position in his first 5 seasons with the Jets, but it was his run that he had in the 80s as the Washington Redskins running back where he really paved his way to NFL greatness. He was MVP of Super Bowl 17, inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1992, and is currently Washington football team's all-time leading rusher. So there it is, folks. That's how far you have to go back to find the last great white halfback / running back. So let's go back to CMC. Now, he's had injury problems the last 2 seasons, but in 2018 and in 2019, only his second and third years respectively, McCaffrey dominated the league. In 2019, he led the league in scrimmage yards with 2,392, which is the most in Panthers history and the third all-time in NFL. He's only the third player in history with at least 1,000 rushing yards and 1,000 receiving yards, sharing company with Roger Craig and Marshall Faulk. So if CMC can remain healthy and continue to be a top 5 running back in this league with the numbers he's already putting up, is it possible that he would be the greatest white running back in the Super Bowl era and maybe even all times? What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments. See you on the other side.